Hello, my name is Paul. I'm a managing partner at Volition, which is a startup advisory firm here in Vancouver. And I'm very happy to be an instructor here at Global Startups. The reason I was really excited to join and teach this class was because when they approached me, they are specifically working with people who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs, which is where my experience really lies over the last almost 20 years. And so what we did was we developed a curriculum that, I've seen business communications courses at other schools, and a lot of times it's, here's a textbook and follow the textbook and off you go and best of luck. With this one in particular, it was really exciting because we could take some of that content that would come from a textbook, but a lot of that is really more applicable for things like corporate world or when you have larger teams, things where you can delegate to somebody else. But when you're in a startup and you're an entrepreneur, that's maybe not so applicable because you're responsible for everything. So it was a really exciting opportunity to build a curriculum that is taking all of that and distilling it and digesting it and making it more specifically for entrepreneurs and their startups at the very early stages, and preparing them also for the scale up that's going to happen presumably afterwards. So some of the outcomes were, making sure that they know how to identify their key stakeholders, how to communicate with them, who they should be communicating with, how to, definitely some of the things in communication such as calls to action, knowing your audience, knowing how to speak to your audience, even some of the things in culture. So it was pretty neat because most of the students were from other places other than Canada. And so we even had a lot of discussions about culturally in North America, how business might be a bit different from where they're from. They got to learn a lot about marketing and what channels to use and when to use them. We learned a lot about doubling down when something's working, meaning if something's working, do more of that. So a lot of really making it a lot more focused for the startup and entrepreneur, and it has been an exciting time. When you're building any kind of business, it's extremely important to identify the stakeholders. Some common mistakes that I see with, call it young entrepreneurs, and I don't mean just by age, but also those who are maybe new to being an entrepreneur and building your own business, is some of the things you might not know is, things about team culture. Especially one of the hardest things is when you're scaling up and the changes in your company culture as you're scaling, how to communicate with your key stakeholders. So I often see, companies will go out, they'll maybe be successful at raising money, but then not communicate with their investors often enough. And the investors aren't happy, so when they try to go get more money and try to raise more, the investors don't put in more money. They're not engaging with their audience and their customers, or actually even talking to their customers. And one of the biggest ones I see a lot is two-sided, is not having enough calls to action and actually doing something, and being afraid to do things like pick up the phone and go have meetings and knock on doors. It's so important as a startup because you've got to get customers and you've got to get them as fast as possible, or users or somebody to pay for what you're doing. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of that. And you have to have a call to action every time in every way to make that happen. So, a lot of mistakes about how to build and how to scale. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that sometimes you just have to learn by doing and falling on your face and getting back up and learning. But what's great about programs like this is it hopefully helps ease that process and the pain that can sometimes go along with that, and gives you the tools to be able to deal with it beforehand, or even set up things in a better way. So Vancouver's definitely one of the best places right now in the world to build a company. I mentioned previously that I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years, and I've built numerous companies here in Vancouver. And one of the things that I love about it is it's been changing for the last 5 years, and it just keeps getting better. And really, I would say right now we're even just scratching the surface But even in that, it's already an incredible community. Most people you'll meet here, they just want to help. It's a very helpful community. There's a lot of listeners, a lot of helpers, a lot of people that just want to get involved. They're not here to steal your ideas or anything like that. There's very little fear of that. It's really about how can I help you? And it's just a great place to be, live, and build business.
So one of the things that I've discovered over the years that if you are building a story, or even if you're writing a story, or you're telling a story, whenever you read a book, any storybook you read, a piece of fiction, there is normally a psychology to how it's written. There's a beginning where you introduce the characters, there's some sort of problem, there's a climax, there's a solution, and there's an end, right? Very similarly, a pitch is in the same function.
Some of the behaviors that really good entrepreneurs have is, one I would say is getting over the fear of no. So remembering that the word no isn't always a hard line no in the business world, especially in startup life. It usually just means that you need to know more and that they need to know more. And by that I mean KNOW. They need to know more, or you need to know more. And really that's a lot about product market fit at the early stages. So you don't really know enough yet to get that sale or get that pilot. And so a lot of it is just keep on going and get to the yes. So a lot of that is that, entrepreneurship is a lot about resolve and hustle and grind and just keep on going. And also knowing that you're kind of responsible for everything. So whether it's cleaning the bathroom or managing a team, growing a team, communicating with investors, fundraising, documentation, government whatever it takes, you just kind of have to do it all until you're at a point where you can start building a team. And then the whole dynamic changes again. You have to learn how to now manage a team and delegate and know what they're doing and set expectations. Another one that I see a lot is two-sided, is entrepreneurs don't communicate enough with their key stakeholders, which I mentioned previously, but that's so important, and that's why this course is great, because we talk a lot about that. And the other one is not getting out there enough and really putting yourself out there and making sure that you keep on going. So it's really important to do that.